Hello everyone, this is Steven from the Even Steven channel, and today we are going to talk about the Smith & Wesson Shield, or rather the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield. This is the original Smith & Wesson Shield as I understand it. This is the original model, the original configuration of the Smith & Wesson Shield. Now let's see if I got my history right. The Smith & Wesson M&P 9 came out, I think, about 2006. And the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield, which most people just call the Shield or the Smith & Wesson Shield, came out around 2012. And it was kind of a game changer. Now, of course, there had been small 9mm handguns before. Maybe something like maybe the car pistols, or maybe the Kel-Tec PF9, or whatever it was. I'm sure Smith & Wesson wasn't the first to think of, hey, let's make a really small 9mm gun. However, they really popularized it, really made it mainstream. And it really was a game changer when this gun came out, because up until that point, it was just, cut down full-size guns. Things like Glock 19s and SIG P228s. And I'm sure there are exceptions, and I'm sure there were other things that were available at the time. But Smith & Wesson, to its credit, really should be acknowledged for kind of changing the firearms industry and changing concealed carry in general to what we know today. And that was, 11 years ago. So I have my Smith & Wesson Shield, again, the original Smith & Wesson Shield, the 1.0. There is a 2.0, there is a Shield Plus, we'll talk about it a little bit. Not only do I have that, I have the Bugout, Bugout bag bundle. I'm not sure if I can show this properly on the camera. It's a little big. This was something that Smith & Wesson put out. My understanding is 2020. Things happened in 2020 where maybe you'd want a Bugout bag. And the idea of a Bugout bag is something bad happens and you decide you want to leave and you just grab something real quick to give you a minimum amount of protection, a minimum amount of provisions to get out of wherever you are. So it looks like you have a little thing here for maybe like a small water bottle, some Molly. I don't think I ever opened this one. Oh, that is the price tag. I'll tell you, I paid $2.75 used for this. I didn't realize I was there. Okay, you got another pouch here. Nothing there right now. This looks like more like a magazine pouch. Inside, there'll be something like a face mask. I'm just gonna take it out for now. First aid kit. That up real quick, not making this a very in-depth thing. It's a very, very basic first aid kit. Ointments, bandages. Looks like antibiotic wipes. Towelette. Very, very basic first aid kit. Nothing really all that impressive. Oh, things are falling into place now. And then there's basically, I'm pretty sure this is the compartment. So you got 1, 2, and like 3 compartments. This is probably where the gun's supposed to go. There's like all these Velcro straps. It is hard to show on camera. I'm trying to show the lighting. There are these Velcro straps, and I'm pretty sure these are supposed to hold the gun in place. But I am quite honestly unsure of how I was supposed to employ these Velcro straps to hold the gun in place. I believe you have this one here, that one here, and between these two, and the female straps inside, you're supposed to do something to hold the gun in place, and I really just never figured out how that was supposed to work. In addition to that, you get, the very obvious M&P logo, which is not good for being covert. More Molly, whatever those HK style hook things are. Nice little strap. Looks like quick detach loop here. I didn't actually notice that one. Quick detach. And this is intended to kind of go over your shoulder and then kind of latch onto your belt. That's a Bugout thing, the Bugout kit. I'm not sure how useful this actually would be as, a Bugout bag, but I mean, it's something. And if you had these loaded up, magazines loaded up, and you had ready to go, a little bit of food, maybe some money or whatever, you know, it wouldn't be all that useless. Now, the Bugout kit came with the bag, the first aid kit, the face mask. I don't know. Leave it on the table for now. And it came with 5 magazines. I have one extra here. I have one extra 7-round magazine. But it came with one 7-round, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 rounds. So with that Bugout kit in the way, we're going to take a look at the original Smith & Wesson Shield. So we have M&P 9 Shield, Smith & Wesson logo. I'm going to go with the markings real quick. Smith & Wesson, Springfield, Massachusetts, USA. Caution, capable of firing with the magazine removed. And a serial number. And I think that's going to be all the markings, 9mm. This did come in 40 Smith & Wesson. I don't believe Smith & Wesson ever produced this in 357 SIG. Typically they did not. And the sights have this M&P logo right here. So we're going to go bottom to top as we typically do. Start with the magazines. This is a 7-round flush-fitting magazine. A little hard to load, but not too bad. They're not quite single stack. It's a little bit of a stagger in there if we get that extra 7th round in. And I will say something about these magazines I don't really hear people talk about. I don't have a loaded one on hand. All the magazines here are unloaded. But when you have a fully loaded 7-round magazine and you push it into this gun when the slide is forward, there is a tremendous amount of resistance to that gun, to these magazines. There's a lot of tension. I was like, there's a lot of tension there. I'm a little concerned, but everyone else seems to be fine with it. I mean, it never seems to cause any problems, but I don't know. Branded. These are otherwise very well made. The 8-round magazine, you only get one more round. And when you insert the 8-round magazine into the gun when the slide is closed, there is tension, there's resistance, but a little bit less, and I feel a little more comfortable with that. And with the 8-round magazine, you get a full grip on it. However, I will say that even with the 7-round magazine, I never really had a problem shooting it. I get just enough grip on the gun, you know, and while it's a little more reassuring to have that full-size grip, I never really had a problem shooting with the 7-round magazines. The 8-round magazines also have this little sleeve on it, which I think just come off. Yeah, this is stupid though. This should not be like that. That should be fixed. However, these are on very, very tightly. I've never seen these move. So let's get that 8-round magazine there. Going forward, we have the grip. We have the Smith & Wesson logo on the grip. We have moderate texturing all around. I think the big difference between the Smith & Wesson Shield 1.0, which this is, and the 2.0 is they made the 2.0 with more aggressive texturing, but I always found this to be fine. This is perfectly fine. Even shooting it today, I shot it today, I didn't think like, this gun needs more texture. This one, you know, it seemed fine. Seemed fine. We have a magazine release. It's well sized, well positioned. I believe you can switch this over, and the way you switch this over is there's a bar in there. You just barely see it. You have to take that bar out. So yeah, take that bar out, if you can see it well. Swap the parts around and then put that bar back in, which I am not going, there we go. I am not going to attempt to do that. So you're on your own. But the magazine release is reversible. What else do we have? A manual safety. I consider it to be small and useless. It's not in a good spot. You would typically have a manual safety more like here. It's back here. It's hard to reach. This is almost an afterthought, and there are other models of the Smith & Wesson Shield that did not have the manual safety. However, the original version did. The slide release is also a little hard. It's a little small, not particularly hard to reach. However, when you try to push down the slide release, it's a lot of resistance. Maybe a little less so with the loaded magazine, but wow, it's a lot. Typically, you're just gonna yank back on the slide like this, and you gotta give it a good yank. Can't be fooling around with this. This is a small gun and has small gun problems. It has smaller, maybe little truncated controls here. The slide serrations are decent. I like these slide serrations, but there's not a lot of them. So you gotta grab hard, and you gotta yank it. among other things. 3-dot sights, which are pretty good out of the box. No problems with those. Let's see, let's go on the right side here. Same slide durations. Nice big ejection port. We have a loaded chamber indicator of sorts. I don't have any ammo with me right now, but if you had a cartridge in here, you may or may not be able to see that brass sticking out right here. It's an interesting idea. I like it. It doesn't really add any parts, so yeah, I like that. Good job. We have the trigger guard. We have the trigger. Again, the trigger guard's a little small because it's a smaller gun. This is obviously intended as a concealed carry gun, so the trigger guard's a little small. And we have that absolutely hated hinge trigger on the Smith & Wesson Shield. And I gotta be honest, I never had a problem with this hinge trigger design. I thought it was perfectly fine. Trigger is okay. It's not great, but it's, I think for its intended purpose as a concealed carry gun, I thought that the trigger on the Smith & Wesson Shield was better. Now, on the original M&P, I owned an M&P 40 back in the day, when 40 was still in style. And the trigger was physically longer, so I think that on the original M&Ps and M&P 40s, I didn't quite like the trigger as much, but seeing how this is all kind of smaller somehow, I don't mind this trigger. I think it's fine. We got a takedown lever. We have no accessory rail here. There are accessories you can clamp on where it basically clamps onto the trigger guard. You can add like a light or a laser. It's good those aftermarket accessories exist. And I think we got like a 3-inch or a 3.1-inch barrel. We do a relatively quick takedown. Let's see, you're going to lock it back. Take the magazine out. Push down the takedown lever. Push forward. Now, on the original M&Ps, I remember there was a lever you could push down on to basically decock the gun, and I think it's this yellow thing over here. However, it's so small. Okay, yeah, that's it. That's the decocker. How you don't have to use it, and I couldn't really reach it, or it's kind of hard. It's kind of recessed. And basically, when you put the magazine back in the gun for the first time, it's going to push that back up anyway. So I just kind of ignore that. The M&Ps had that. I never cared for it. Anyway, so what we got here? We got standard looking striker fired gun. There's the ejector. There's the slide rails. Trying to do so it's properly framed. Slide rails here. Yeah, it all looks pretty standard striker fired gun. The Smith & Wesson Shield has a very stiff recoil spring here. Got a double captive recoil spring. If you look right here, it's a little bit of like a kink here. It's a little bit of it looks like almost like a bend in this recoil spring. I don't like how that looks. However, it seems to work just fine. However, it looks like the recoil spring is doing weird stuff, but it seems to work. Barrel, nice little stubby thing there. We got looks like standard rifling in there. A little hard to see, but standard lands and grooves, and a slide, and it all seems to be machined pretty well. Good job, Smith & Wesson. There's a striker there. There's the firing pin block. It's all standard striker fired stuff. Put it back together. Just put the barrel in, put the recoil spring in that place. Make sure all those lines up nice. Slide back on. Be careful that the slide's going on nice and easy. Lock the slide back. It's not locking back. It's not locking back. Let me try with the magazine in place. Little force there needed to get that slide all the way back. So keep in mind that when the slide is back, there isn't a lot of room for the slide to go forward or rearward before it disengages. There's not a lot of play, so you really got to yank it back, and it only moves back like a fraction of an inch, a couple millimeters, and then that's when this thing drops down. So it's the recoil spring is relatively strong. It's a small gun. It has small gun problems. Now, all that being said, how does the gun shoot? I will say this gun is a pleasure to shoot. I like shooting the Smith & Wesson, M&P 9 Shield. For its size, I find it to be a very pleasant gun to shoot. It has a very strong recoil spring. That might help. It's sprung a certain way. Maybe they kind of balance the weight of the slide and the weight of the recoil spring, but it seems to work. Again, it's got a stiff recoil spring. It's stiff, but shooting it, I found it to be very pleasant to shoot, especially for its size, and even compared to other bigger guns. I think this shoots just as well as like a compact, double stack, compact gun. It seems just as much recoil. How's the accuracy? Where's my target? Let me go grab my target right back. I've shot this gun a couple times. I don't have a ton of rounds through it, but this is my first time shooting it. I think I put like 100 rounds to the gun and then I shot this. This is 5 yards. That should be 5 shots. Could I have like doubles there? That'd be cool if it was. This is Smith & Wesson Shield 5 yards. Smith & Wesson Shield 7 yards. Going a little low, but still good. Smith & Wesson Shield 10 yards. I can only really see, like, I guess that could be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out to 10 yards, Smith & Wesson Shield is perfectly adequate at accuracy. 15 yards Smith & Wesson Shield. That's a tear. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fine. Fine. And then 20 yards. I didn't go out to 25 yards. It's a smaller gun. I didn't want to push it too much. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then kind of just one goes off. So that's a miss. But considering this size of target, you are more than combat accurate, more than defensive use accurate, out to 20 yards with a relatively small gun. I don't know the weight. It's about 1 inch thick. It fits. Let's see. It's not too much bigger than the size of my hand, and I found this gun to be pleasant to shoot and very accurate. I also found it to be reliable. I didn't have any reliability problems with this 115 grain Blazer ammo, which is a little on the weaker end of ammunition. So the fact that I ran that was nice showing from the Shield. And yes, I just find it to be a very accurate, reliable, durable gun. I have a few hundred rounds to it, not a ton, but a few hundred. I had no problems so far. I don't think I'm going to have any problems. And it's just, this is going to be my concealed carry gun. This is it. Now, it doesn't have all the latest bells and whistles. It doesn't have a accessory rail. It does not cut for an optic. Yes, all those things. And there is an argument to be had. What about the latest generation of guns? What about things like the SIG 365 and the Hellcat and even the Shield Plus? So that could be its own video, honestly. But I'll try to be very quick. So yes, there are guns, they've called them the Micro 9s. These are typically called the single stack 9mm guns. Everyone had one, Beretta has one, Ruger has one, HK doesn't have one, but Glock has one. Everyone came out with their own version of this. But then SIG came out with the P365, and that was another game changer where you had a slightly bigger gun, just a little bit wider. Instead of holding like 6, 7, 8 rounds, now you have like 10 rounds, 12 rounds. And that was a game changer too, to SIG's credit. And even Smith & Wesson themselves came out with the Shield Plus. So instead of having a 7-round flush-fitting magazine, you had a 10-round flush-fitting magazine. But here's the thing. It has to be bigger. It has to. It can't not be bigger. Now you can argue, well, the amount of width you add versus the amount of rounds you get in the capacity is worth it. But yes, but it has to be bigger. It has to. It can't just not be bigger. It's got to be bigger. And on top of that, a lot of these guns are getting, a lot of these companies are charging a premium for their so-called Micro 9s. Things like the Hellcat and the SIG 365, those are like $600 guns. This is like a $300 gun. So is the capacity worth double the price? Double? Just saying, it's putting out there. people are charging a lot of money for these micro 9s. They're charging a premium. And a lot of these single stack 9s can be had for a very good price. They're very small, they're very concealable, they're very effective, always have been, always will be. And while they don't have the capacity, or maybe they don't have the latest features, they will throw a 9mm bullet down range as well as anything else will. So what else can we talk about with the Smith & Wesson Shield? I don't see the need to really like change anything on this gun. I don't feel the need to put texture, A grip or hoe grip or whatever texturing on this gun. I don't feel the need to change out the sights. I really don't feel the need to change anything on this gun. I know there are Apex trigger kits and whatever. I don't think you really need those things. All I really think you need is a good holster. A good, I guess, appendix style holster, whatever you want. I think all you need is this gun, a good holster, and you're good to go. Honestly, I really do. So can I recommend the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield? Yes. If it wasn't very obvious, yes. I find it to be accurate, reliable, durable, concealable. I find it to do everything that I need a concealed carry gun to do. It just seems to work. It seemed to have worked very well in 2012. It seems to work very well today in 2023, and it will continue working in the near future. What do I have here? I think I have, very quickly I'll show you the holster I'm fooling around with. This is a Pegasus. Let me get the Pegasus by DeSantis. They're slim tuck ambidextrous holster. This is the one I'm fooling around with. It's fine. It works fine. The only problem I have with this particular holster is it has adjustment, but the adjustment is so gross. Like you see how you can like move this back and forth, and you can see how you have different holes here. You can move this up and down. The adjustment is so gross that if I move it any bit up, down, left, right, trying to get this the perfect spot for my belt, it's too much. The adjustment is so gross, and that even if I just move this a little bit, it just seems like it's too much. So I just left it the way it came. Again, you can move this up and down a little bit. I just leave it the way it came, and yeah, this seems fine. Seems fine. Again, I just want this gun to be just a little bit higher in my belt, just again a fraction of an inch, and it seems like this adjustment is way too much. Otherwise, this gun is fine. It's a little stiff here. I think you can adjust the tension a little bit by loosening these screws up a little bit, but this is very tight right now, which I guess is good. But yes, definitely I can recommend the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield. It is a good gun. It was a good gun before. Good gun now. Will always be a good gun for concealed carry, regardless of what happens in the near future. So, if you like this video, please like, subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And I will see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.